Today, we are going to discuss the basics of using Wordfast Pro, and some tips to avoid common mistakes.
Great. Let's start.
To start using Wordfast Pro, you have to create a new project.
What is a project? Do you mean a file?
You can think of a project as a container for organizing your files. You can translate any number of files in the same project as long as they are of the same language pair. Enter a unique project name, and select the source and target languages. Click OK. The Translation Memory Preferences dialog box appears. You should use a translation memory to store your translated segments, and make use of them later. Don't confuse the two buttons, Add Translation Memory, and Create Translation Memory.
Oh, sometimes I confuse the two buttons, and get error messages. Could you please explain the difference between them?
Click Add Translation Memory if your client sent you a translation memory file, or if you already have a translation memory on your computer. My client sent me a translation memory. So, I am clicking Add Translation Memory, and then Browse, to locate the translation memory TXT file. Wordfast Pro established a connection to the translation memory. I can also create a new empty translation memory, by clicking Create Translation Memory, and then Browse, to determine where to save the new translation memory file and give it a name.
Do you mean I must use multiple translation memories? Can I use only one translation memory?
You can use only one translation memory, or any number of translation memories. Most importantly, any translation memory you want to use during translation must be selected.
Oh. So if I want to get matches from a translation memory, I have to select the checkbox, Selected. But, what if I want to make it read-only?
If a translation memory is only selected, you can both retrieve translation matches from it, and add new translation units to it. On the other hand, if a translation memory is marked as both selected and read-only, you can only get matches from it. However, it is not writable. Remember that you should have at least one writable translation memory to store your new translated segments. Now, let's open the document to be translated, by opening File menu, and clicking Open File.
As far as I can see, Wordfast Pro has split the text into numbered segments. Could you please show me the source document? Does such segmentation depend on some punctuation marks?
By default, Wordfast Pro segments text after paragraph marks, full stops, colons, question marks, and exclamation marks. As I have a translation memory sent by my client, I can pre-translate the document by clicking the toolbar button, Translate All.
Great. I noticed that it has offered only matches of high rates. Can I get matches of lower rates?
You can lower the fuzzy match threshold by opening Edit menu, Preferences, Translation Memory, and changing the value of fuzzy match threshold. By default, it is 75. The value must be an integer between 40 and 100. This makes Wordfast retrieve matches of lower similarity rates from the translation memory, if any.
Can I filter segments to make it easier to reach them?
You can use the outline layout to filter segments based on their status. For example, you can filter exact matches, fuzzy matches, or no matches. And you can reach any segment by clicking on its link on the outline layout.
I see. By the way, I noticed that the path of the file now includes a different extension. What is TXML?
TXML is the Wordfast Pro bilingual file. Once you open the source document in Wordfast Pro and save it, the TXML file is generated in the same folder as the source document. Actually, it is the file that you are translating now.
Okay. What should I do to translate the rest of the file?
You should type the translation in the right column.
Let me try that. Oh, once I started typing the translation, the background color changed into pink.
Pink indicates that this segment has been modified, and not saved to the translation memory.
I want to change the case of a word. Usually, I use Shift F3, in other applications.
In Wordfast Pro, you can use Shift F3 to toggle the case of text to the lowercase or the uppercase.
Great. What should I do now? How can I move to the next sentence?
You should click the toolbar button, Next Segment, or press Alt down arrow on your keyboard to store the current translation unit into the translation memory, and search the translation memory for matches for the next segment.
Now the background color has changed into purple.
Purple indicates that this segment has been stored into the translation memory.
When I close and reopen a TXML file, I notice that all the purple segment have become pink again. Is that a problem?
Pink and purple are session-related colors, so there is no problem if those translation units have been already stored in the translation memory.
Well, once I clicked the toolbar button, Next Segment, the translation was copied to segment number 6 as well. Why?
It is a repeated segment on the same document. Please refer to the video about the auto-propagation feature.
Okay. UT1, what is this gray code for?
This is called a placeable, and you should insert it in its proper position of the target segment. Placeables are useful for keeping the format and structure of the file. To select a placeable, click the toolbar button, Next Placeable, or press Ctrl-Alt-Right on your keyboard. To insert the selected placeable, click the toolbar button, Copy Placeable, or press Ctrl-Alt-Down. Continue translating as usual. And do not forget to press Alt down to commit your translation unit to the translation memory.
Okay. Actually, I used Alt down to move from segment number 6 to segment number 7. How was this translation inserted?
This is a fuzzy match, retrieved from the translation memory.
What is a fuzzy match, and why is it on a yellow background?
We have translated a similar segment before. When we pressed Alt down, it has been automatically retrieved from the translation memory. Fuzzy matches are distinguished by a yellow background. You can also notice the match rate, it is less than 100%.
Great. How can I know the difference between the current source segment and the one stored in the translation memory?
Differences are displayed on the translation memory lookup pane, and marked in yellow. Edit the translation, and press Alt down to add the translation unit to the translation memory and move to the next segment.
Okay. I have already translated a similar segment, but I have not got a match.
You can search the translation memory for similar phrases, by selecting a phrase, and clicking the toolbar button, Translation Memory Lookup, or pressing Ctrl-Shift-T on your keyboard. You can also enable the option, Perform Translation Memory Lookup automatically, to search the translation memory whenever you move to a segment using the mouse, or Control down. If you find a translation memory lookup result useful, you can move it to the target cell by clicking the option, Retrieve Selected Segment, or pressing Ctrl-Alt-M.
Great. In segment number 9, there are numbers, Is there a quick way to move numbers from the source to the target?
Let's try to translate this segment. Once I type 1, I get a number suggestion. Moreover, I can use Ctrl-Tab to move a word to my target. Just hold the Ctrl key, and press Tab several times, until you get the word you need. Here, I am just editing the word September, and using Shift F3 to capitalize the first letter. Again, when I type 2, I get number suggestions. I can just move between suggestions using arrow buttons, and press Enter, to insert the one I need. This feature is called Auto Suggest, and you can watch the video about it.
That should be so useful, especially for long segments. However, for this specific segment, can we just copy the source text to the target, and make the required changes?
You can use the toolbar button, Copy Source, or the shortcut, Alt Insert. Let's move to the next segment, using Alt Down. Here, we have another fuzzy match. I am editing it, and then moving to the next segment. Segment number 11 is an exact match. Segment number 12 is another fuzzy match. I can see the differences on the translation memory lookup pane, and I have to edit it. Segment number 13 is auto-propagated from a previous segment repeated on the same file.
I have a question related to segment number 14. Sometimes, I have this problem, numbers are not automatically replaced, and I get incorrect numbers.
When the only difference between two sentences is in numbers, you can check the option, Use Replaceables for higher translation memory matches. This will automatically replace the numbers in such fuzzy matches instead of offering them with incorrect numbers from old translated sentences stored in the translation memory.
That's great. Here we have another fuzzy match. Actually, I see two fuzzy matches on the translation memory lookup pane. How can I insert another match other than the first one?
You can move between matches using Alt-Right and Alt-Left to display the next or previous matches, in order of match rating. Edit the segment as you like, and press Alt-Down.
Okay. I remember that segment number 18 was retrieved during the pre-translation process. How can I display the original translation unit, to check the differences?
You can use the toolbar button, Current Segment Leverage, or Alt-Space, to retrieve a match for the current segment.
Great. We have now finished the translation. What should we do now?
It's recommended that you check the spelling of your translation. Click Edit, Preferences, Spelling. You have two options, Handspell, and Microsoft Office Spell Check. You can also select Check Spelling as you type. To use the spelling checker, click Edit, Spell Check, or press F7 on your keyboard. Select the correct suggestion, and click Change, or Change All.
Okay. Do you recommend anything else?
It's highly recommended that you check the TXML file, to make sure that all the placeables are properly inserted. Click Edit, Preferences, Trans-Check, and select Placeables. There are other options that you can select as well. Now, click the toolbar button, Trans-Check. When you get an error message, correct the problematic segment. And make sure you use Alt-Q or Alt-Down to store the edited segment into the translation memory. After you correct the problematic segment, click the toolbar button, Trans-Check again to continue checking the rest of the file.
Great. As we have modified some segments now, is there a quick way to store all the changes to the translation memory in one go, instead of pressing Alt-Q, one by one?
You can click the toolbar button, Commit to Translation Memory, or press Alt-End on your keyboard.
It says, document is ready to be closed. I have to save it before closing, right? Also, I would like to get my target document.
Click the Save toolbar button to save your bilingual XML file. On the other hand, to generate the target document in the same format as the source document, click File, Save Translated File.
Is this for any file format, or for just Word documents?
The command, Save Translated File, is for any file format supported by Wordfast Pro. It generates a translated version of the source file, with the same format.
I see the document is now ready to be sent to the client. What should I send to them exactly?
Send your client what they asked for. Most importantly, if you are requested to send the XML file via email, make sure you compress it into a zip archive to avoid file corruption.
What about the translation memory? I am not sure which files I should send.
Wordfast translation memory is a TXT file, and this is only what you are required to send. On the other hand, JTX and LOC files are temporary files that you do not need to send, as Wordfast Pro can generate them again on any machine, if needed.
Great. So we have successfully finished our translation session using Wordfast Pro. I am going to use all what I have learned. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.